Here's one way I found of mounting UQFN chips, which are notoriously difficult to hand solder. I've tried using paste and lots of other different techniques, but this is one that seems to work for me. Using a flux pen, thoroughly clean and flux the pads on the board, and then do the small pads on the bottom of the chip too. That way you get maximum flow of the solder when you apply it, because these are the areas you can't get to once the chip's in place. Once the parts are fluxed, mount the chip on the board. As the flux is drying, it will go gooey and sticky, but it won't actually set solid for quite some time. So you've got plenty of time to position the chip using the tweezers to micro manage it into position, and and then you can find it very easy to with slight pressure just to hold it in place while you work on the soldering on the pads. This is centralized now with the pads, so slight pressure now from tweezers or a scalpel. And then what I do is I get a small ball of flux on the end of the soldering iron, not particularly a fine bit, this one, but and then I run the ball of solder along the pads, getting into the joint as much as I can. A little bit of movement here on the chip, I noticed, but when I checked it at the end, it was functional. I've had quite a good success rate from this, pretty much 100% compared to other techniques where I've got nowhere near that. Work your way around the chip, making sure you cover all four sides, and you're looking to feel the little bump, 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 bump of the soldering iron along the pads. You can feel it, and then when you get that, usually you find that the solder's flowed into it quite well. Is the chip soldered in place? You can see it leaves a really gooey mess from the flux. Obviously, there's loads of flux on there. So first thing to do is clear off the flux, and have a look at just how good those joints are. Make sure you see all of the flux levels rising from the board to the chip. That's what you look for. I'm using a bit of IPA alcohol here, and I like to use a cocktail stick as well. Pinch the end off and then crush it into like a brush shape. This, along with IPA, is brilliant actually for clearing lots of different things. You can clean epoxy resin off glass or plastic finishes, like a plastic window, without scratching the plastic. So it's quite a good abrasive, but it doesn't seem to damage the surface. So I do use it for a lot of things. Give them a good scrub around the edge of the chip. We want to make sure that we're able to see if any of these bevels are not in place, and the little chamfer of solder has not been made. Scrub with a toothbrush. I don't normally like to use these a lot. I always worry about static, but I use a metal base for this so that I can minimize any static charge. There you can see all the little bevels in place, and this did program to prove to be a good chip.